my approach and how I manage to stay clear of accidents, knock on wood. Um, when I get on my motorcycle, I approach I approach it all as if it's almost a video game. I look at it when I get on my motorcycle and I go out into the world. As soon as I pull out, always, this has been for decades and decades, I approach it exactly like it's a game, and that I'm the target. You know, that every vehicle out there is driven by somebody whose strategy is to try to take me out of the game. Now, you would think with that approach that you're going to be seeing the world as, the glass is half empty rather than half full, and it's very pessimistic and negative, and you're not going to be able to enjoy your ride and relax. But that is not true. As a lot of you guys out there that have experienced, some hard places in the world and been through some tough shit, you can adapt to anything. A human being can adapt to anything. And you learn to laugh, and you learn to have good times, and you learn to live in any environment and in any situation if that's what you have to do. So, just because I have that level of situational awareness, it doesn't mean I don't enjoy the ride. I have a blast. I love riding. I prefer it over ever getting into a car or truck or anything like that in some metal box, a cage. I so much prefer to jump on my bike. But every time I get on my motorcycle, I pull out of here and I leave with it in my mind that I'm the target, and that every other vehicle out there, their intention is to try to take me out of the game, is to run me over or run me off the road. And I'm always expecting it, when I'm going up the road and I see a car up ahead of me, and he's on the right side, I expect he's going to pull out on me. I expect he's going to. I expect he's going to pull out on me. When I see a car coming towards me with his left blinker on, I expect that he's going to be foolish enough or absent-minded enough that he's just going to go ahead and make that left turn in front of me and figure that he's got plenty of time, or he can just do it because he does it to other people in cars, and just figures he can go ahead and do it to me. In my opinion, you need to give a motorcycle a little more regard and a little more consideration than you do another automobile. People tailgate everybody now. People follow very closely now, like they're trying to push you up the road. And that people would do that to a motorcycle is really, these are some ignorant people, man. They'll do that to you on your motorcycle. And another thing is that I'm part of the game. I'm interactive with the game. So I interrelate and communicate with the other drivers that are out there that I'm watching for any move they make to try to take me out of the game. I communicate with these people, man. And not always in a good way. And sometimes in a good way. If somebody's up there going to make a left-hand turn, and they could have come out in front of me, and they had plenty of space that really they probably could have done it. And I wouldn't have even, I would have thought, well, I knew that was coming, but I wouldn't get irritated because they have enough room, right? But it's still questionable, and I would rather that they wait, but, I can't expect that. But they do wait, just out of an overabundance of caution and consideration. They wait, then I may wave to them, or I'll nod at them, or I'll mouth thank you to them, And it's the same thing at red lights and traffic lights for making turns or anything like that. Anybody, that notices me and gives me a little room or a little space, man, I appreciate that. Now, if the opposite happens, if they cut me off, which somebody just cut me off this morning. A woman cut me right off. She was behind me. Okay, I'm in the middle lane. She's behind me, and she comes around and passes me on the right, and comes in front of me so that she can go into the furthest left lane. So from behind me, all she had to do was move over into the left lane so she could make the turn she wanted to make. But no, she decides to pass me on the right, cut me off, and then go over into that lane. So of course but she was confused because she could get on the interstate. Get on this way, you can get on this way, but it was coming up at the overpass where the ramps were there. And I guess to go this way, she didn't realize there's a ramp to go that way. I guess she thought both ramps were facing this way and it looped around or something. I don't know. That seems like the obvious answer to that, reasoning for that. But, if I'm going to make a turn, I don't only rely on my turn signal. I use turn signals. I use my turn signals. But I don't always just rely on that. I never just rely on that. If I'm making a right, I'll give a hand gesture, an over-exaggerated flailing of my arm, pointing, like this shit. Then I'm turning right. If I'm turning left, I'll do the same thing. And like I have an attitude about it almost. If I make that a right turn and I turn into the first available lane, which is what you're legally supposed to do, those of us who went to any kind of a driver's ed, 50 years ago or whenever the shit it was, or 45 years ago, would know that if they have any recollection abilities, if they have any retention abilities. So if I make a right and I come into that first available lane there, but I want to get into the next lane, right? I don't just turn and swing all the way out there. That's placing me in harm's way, potentially. So, nope, I'm turning the first available lane, just like I'm supposed to do, closest lane. And then I want to immediately shoot over there because I know somebody's going to be speeding and they're going to come up there and they're going to take that spot and I'm not going to get over in time. So then I'll point down like this, I'll point down like this. And of course I'm going to look. I don't just trust the mirrors. I look and I'm pointing down and then I'll swing over into that other lane. But I'm very overly dramatic in my gestures and articulations when I'm on a motorcycle. If somebody cuts me off, it's not uncommon. I mean, my bikes run correctly. I regularly align my motorcycles. And if somebody cuts me off, I may be behind them and I know they see me in the mirror and I'll go like this. Oh yes, what? What the fuck, what? I will do that. I'm a large guy. I don't know how much that you can obtain from videos, but and I'll use that if that's how it has to be. If many times people will only respect or notice or pay attention to something that potentially may cause them harm or have the capability of causing them harm, however they perceive that. So if they see, this big, guy on a fucking Harley Davidson and he looks like he might not be of, the attitude that he's going to put up with a bunch of bullshit, maybe he's not in a good mood. And if they just did something to violate me, as far as I'm concerned, I want them to get that impression. And if that has any bearing on how they'll behave now, then that's a success and I'm just grateful for that. It's not because I'm trying to go out of my way to intimidate people or I think I'm bad or some shit like that, right? It's because it's whatever works. And if deterrence works, then deterrence serves its purpose. What is the definition of deterrence? To deter someone from doing something. To deter that behavior, to deter their decision. So I want my space and I don't want them to endanger me. That's all I want. So if deterrence will deter them from denying me that, then that's a success. That's a win, whatever. I'm not going to, whatever. Everything else is cool. It's just that's how it is. It serves me and I'll use whatever tools I have, available. If people tailgate me, which unbelievably that happens. But I think people, most of the time, I really do believe most people don't even realize they're doing it. They do it just as second nature to everybody in cars. They're always in a hurry. They're in a rush. They got to get there. They're always up on somebody's ass. And so sometimes there are some people that will do that to a motorcycle. There's not many, but yes, it happens regularly enough that I can say that, yeah, it happens. Happens to me. And if somebody's up on my ass like that, if I feel they're too close, I see it in my mirror and I'm like thinking that's too close because I've watched them catch up to me from behind. And I'm already going the speed limit or a couple miles an hour over on these back roads where the speed limit may be 25 or 35 miles an hour. That's it. So, or frequently it'll change as you go into different areas. It'll be 35 and it'll come down to 25. And it'll stay 25 and then it'll turn into 35 again later. And I obey those speed limits and things. Primarily because if I need to set a standard and follow that standard so that I'm consistent in how I act and how I behave and how I protect myself and how, I approach my awareness when I'm on a motorcycle, moving around other vehicles. So if I expect other people to have some kind of regard for the laws of the road around me, let alone have any additional courtesy and consideration, then I need to hold myself to that same standard. So that's why I do that. You know, if that speed limit sign says, if I'm on these back twisty roads and things and that speed limit sign says 25 and I slow down to 25, or if it says 35 and I'm going 35, and then behind me I see coming up on me a car and he's moving fast enough that I'm already going the speed limit or a few miles over and he can catch up to me, and now I feel that person's too close, I will literally brake and I will turn around on my motorcycle and I will go like this. I will go like this. I'll gesture at him. Like, what the fuck? I'll gesture at him. I'll look right back at him and I'll gesture at him, you know, or I'll go like this at him, and I will slow the fuck down. Gradually, you know, and so far, 100% of the time, they react to that in the way that I'm appreciative, you know. They will actually slow down, and then when I resume speed again, they will stay far behind me, like further than I even need them to be, but they will give me that space. You know, I don't need all that. I'm not asking for that or expecting all this special dispensation, but if you're going to tailgate me, follow too close to where I feel like you can't respond quick enough and you may hit me because of that, I want my space. I want you to back the fuck off just to save space. Now, if I do something that you interpret as imposing, or maybe you don't, maybe it just wakes you up and you just go, oh fuck, I didn't even realize I'm up too close on this guy, making him uncomfortable. I'm too close on him. He's right. You know, maybe just out of the goodness of their heart and just because they weren't thinking about it, because they're so used to just doing it. If they back off and then they stay back an additional space extra further, I don't need them to do that, but that's okay. You know what I mean? I'm all right with that. I just respect and am grateful and appreciate that, you know, once they get a little reminder that they're more observant and they understand and they back the fuck up. That's what I like. Now, if they're following me in a normal distance, I don't care about that. I don't give a fuck about that. That's fine, you know. You got every right to be on the road just as I do. But, you know, if you're going to try to tailgate me on a motorcycle, no, I'm not having it, man. Not going to have that shit. I'm going to have a shirt printed up that says on the back of it, ever seen a firearm discharged from a speeding motorcycle? And a question mark. Yeah, I think I am going to have a shirt printed up like that. You know, I see a lot of these shirts that says, can you see me now, asshole? And, you know, I had one of those shirts and I couldn't bring myself to wear it. I just couldn't. There's certain things I'm not going to put out there. I'm not going to walk into the grocery store. I'm not going to walk around where there are children and families and good, decent people, you know, wearing something that's referring to anybody as an asshole, you know, written on a shirt. I'm not doing it. If you think that's cool and you're all right with that, I don't have any feeling about it either way towards somebody else. It's just not right for me subjectively. Not doing that. But yeah, I think I will put, maybe I would like to get a shirt, make a shirt up that says on it, ever seen a firearm discharged from a motorcycle? And a question mark or something like that, you know? Just food for thought. So anyway, that's how I have avoided accidents on my motorcycle. And I'm going to step out there and say that motorcycle involved accidents, that in my opinion 95% of the time they were completely avoidable, but for that motorcycle operator's inexperience and lack situational awareness. So and don't confuse what I'm saying and give me a knee-jerk reaction and be angry about it because maybe you don't think that's true. What I'm saying is, it's your life. It's your life subjectively. It's your life. It's not an objective thing. It's your life if you're riding a motorcycle, operating a motorcycle out here. It's your life. It's your life. Okay? So you need to take responsibility for it, you know, to the utmost degree. Even if legally, technically, morally, the accident, you know, God forbid you should become involved with on your motorcycle is the fault of another person, or the other person is liable, or the other person is found to be at fault. I'm saying legally, whatever, and it's a no-brainer and all that, that's fine and dandy, but still, even still, in the light of that, in the face of that, I believe 95% of motorcycle-involved accidents could have been avoided. could have been avoided. And you might be thinking, yeah, if these people didn't drive like they do, that's true. But again, this is a subjective thing. It's your life. It's my life if we're operating a motorcycle. It's not these people in these cars. They're going to suffer the least amount of damage, almost all the time, every time. So it's incumbent upon me to take on that additional responsibility. And no matter whether I'm within my legal right or whatever, that doesn't mean that it's okay for me to get smashed by a car. Because that guy's wrong, or that guy's inept or incompetent, or that guy's asleep at the wheel, or drinking, or whatever the fuck. No matter how he can be technically and legally liable and wrong, okay? In this moment, at that moment, in the interest of avoiding that accident, I'm taking that additional responsibility and absorbing that and owning that and saying that I believe 95% of all motorcycle involved accidents, 95%, are otherwise avoidable, but for that the operator of that motorcycle wasn't as situationally aware or experienced or practiced as he could have been, or adept as he could be, or as she could be. So I would say if you're trying to get out there and ride and have a good time and relax and not get creamed by a car, then you take that additional responsibility and you need to practice. You need to be the best rider that you can be. And you need to have your head on a swivel and be situationally aware. My head is on such a swivel to such a degree. This is all second nature shit. It's not something I have to think about when I'm on the road. It's been 40 years. It's not something I have to think about. It's reflex action. It's just inborn within me now, So I'm still having a good time. I'm having a blast. I'm not sweating anything. I'm not paranoid. All of this stuff happens. I do all these other things just naturally, instinctively when I'm on a bike. I don't have to really, give it a whole lot of overthought. I'm just always there and always thinking just automatically, Anyway, that's it. I see the light flashing. That means it's time limit for me, which is already probably too long for most of you guys. I'm out of here. I'll be back and catch you again shortly. Have a great day.